Is it? All right, we are live. Welcome to the closing table by Lead House 365. I'm just pushing it live on Instagram as well. It always takes a second. There it goes. Another week in the wild world of real estate investing. As always, I'm Drew and this is Craig. Today we have a very special guest, longtime friend. I always want to say that. But yeah, childhood friend. This is Tom Munz. You know, graphic designer, I'd say is a thing you do. I didn't say that's like what you are, because I think you're more a brand developer and visual artist, but I think graphic design is probably the thing you probably get lumped into most, but easily like one of the most talented in that field that I know. Does a ton of stuff for us and a lot of different businesses that Craig and I work on. So welcome to the show, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, man. Happy to be here, and long-time listener, first-time caller. So yeah, excited to chat with you guys.
Hell yeah. Man. So we always like to start with is like tell us a little bit about your journey. Like while this is relating to this show is relating to real estate and real estate investing, we like to bring on marketers of all different shapes and sizes and skill sets, because like it's important. All these things are important. You can't just do one thing. And if you're just a real estate investor, like at some point you're going to need, if you want to hit that next level, which all of them, the ones you look up to, if you're watching this, they all have built a personal brand, and that includes like logos, video series, so much visual components go into that, and go into marketing is the visual component of building a visual identity and a brand identity. And so it's super important. So we have one of the best on today. So, we're going to be more painting with broad strokes today about marketing, and this can relate to any business, but this absolutely relates to anyone doing real estate investing. So that's just how I want to set it up. But yes, Tom, now that's the way, tell us a little about your story and how you got into what you do.
Yeah. So I think, first off, thanks for the great intro. I appreciate the kind words. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right that branding, design, creative, like that all wraps up into marketing, into creating your own brand, right? And I think that's super important when you're trying to differentiate yourself in a field that might have a lot of competition. A lot of people doing the same types of things. I think branding and creative is a great way to kind of set yourself apart, to make yourself memorable, to make yourself stand out from the crowd. So I think that's a great point there. As far as myself, my own journey, my career, I've been doing this for over 15 years. So I've definitely worked in a lot of different roles and disciplines and things like that. So web design, logo design, branding, video, social, out-of-home advertising, really the full spectrum of marketing and creative. And so currently I'm freelancing. I'm a freelance art director. I've been able to work with some really great clients recently, Framer, Right Point, Exelon. Then prior to that, working at a lot of in-house agencies, in-house design teams. So got my start in television, worked at some agencies, went in-house at corporate, and then most recently I've been working with startups and things like that. So kind of a wide-ranging career over the years.
And I'd say that's, I don't know what NDAs have been signed, but I know you've done work for some like really famous professional athletes as well. So I think you're selling yourself short there, and some brands that every single person that would ever watch this, some national brands that would be recognizable, some massive corporate identities that every single person would recognize. So like cream of the crop here as far as like experience and resume goes, as far as not just like doing a freelance and helping out like some small businesses like he does for us, but like in-house in the weeds, building some national recognition for some brands, and worked on some massive sporting events, I know, as well, as far as doing like all the graphics on TV and stuff. So some really cool shit that you've done. So like when it comes to it, like if I always like to say, like thinking into the future. So if a brand wants to be like kind of future proof going into like 2026 with what we have, like what do you think they should stop doing immediately? Like what are you seeing is like the thing that people, whether they're doing marketing or they're building a brand, that is either a waste of time or things that like is the biggest mistakes you see brands making?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a big mistake that people are making right now is like being inauthentic, of not really putting themselves out there. So I think what you guys are doing right now, like with this podcasts, like really creating content that is real to you and what you're doing and can provide value to your user base. I think stuff like that is a great differentiating factor, to where a lot of people are kind of just using that old school mentality of like, you put up a website, you have a logo, you're waiting for people to come to you. You're just kind of like hoping and praying that like that's marketing, right? Like you're doing the bare minimum. So I think we're kind of past that, right? Like I think in this day and age of accessibility, of like people want to know more about who they're working with. They want to make sure that it's someone that they align with and believe in. So I think that's a great differentiating factor, is creating genuine content to yourself, putting it out there where your users want to live, right? So understanding if they're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, wherever your users are living, making sure that's where you're putting that content, and then creating genuine content that resonates with them, that again, it feels real, you know?
We see that a ton. You know, I think when it comes to specifically the niche that Craig and I work with, and a lot of our clients specifically, and Craig, you can probably speak a little bit more to this, but a lot of them are doing like their version of marketing is, and this is crazy to say, but it's literally this tactic called bandit signs, where it's essentially, if you ever seen a sign when you're driving on the street and it says like 3/2 cash, like that's their version of marketing. Or it's direct mail. Like direct mail is a big thing people are doing, and cold calling, and that's like marketing. And those are marketing channels and ways that do it. But I'll tell you this, some of the guys we know that are spending $30,000, $50,000 a month in advertising, building a brand and a name and a trusted reputation, those are the ones doing hundreds of deals a month versus lucking into a deal here and now and then. They're investing in themselves and who they are and how their brand comes off, so that they become the household name. They become the Coca-Cola in their market for real estate, and not just, you know, necessarily one side of it, all the sides, doing all the sides of the business. But yeah. What do you think, Craig, about that?
Yeah, you're 100% right. There is forms of, I would say, like guerrilla marketing, which is like your door knocking, your referral, word of mouth, you know, passing out flyers, like that type of stuff. That still work. You know, people kill it, you know, just from running their mouth or just, you know, just going down the referral chain. But there's also other forms of where those same type of leads or prospects would come to you, that like, you know, obviously what we specialize in. So I guess it's more or less about like, hey, as the client, what do you have more of? You have more money in your pocket, or you have more time on your hands, you know? And then you make that justifiable decision, because guerrilla stuff is going to take you longer to get deals, but it's cheaper, you know, versus having, you know, leads or prospects come to you directly. It's kind of, that's how I look at it. But what are your thoughts, Tom, on this? You've been in the game for a minute now, A1 marketer. We want to hear your opinions on where we're headed.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, where I think the marketing you're talking about, like guerrilla marketing, putting signs by the road, that stuff is like one hit, right? Like that might get you a couple calls until it rains or until someone like takes the sign. But like long term, talking about branding versus short-term marketing, I think that's really where you start to develop like a lead system, inbound marketing, right? So the clients are starting to come to you because you have a trusted brand, you have like a name people recognize, you have a system in place that is creating marketing that brings it to you, to where you're not having to go out and put signs out every day, right? Because that's not sustainable. So I think that's the big difference, is like sustainable long-term marketing that has like repeatable funnels versus one-off things that are cheap and easy to do, but they're not sustainable. They're not going to create long-term gains. So that's kind of the difference I'm hearing there.
Yeah. Is there any type of design trends, I'd say, that you see businesses like all doing right now or leveraging right now that you feel like is just on the verge of being outdated? Because I feel like that's how it goes. It's like there's a trend of in every single facet of a business when it comes to marketing, but there's a trend and everyone jumps on the trend, and then it becomes kind of passe, and like almost like, as a designer, I'm sure you see things you cringe at that you see people still doing. So like if some of the people maybe will see this are in trying to develop a brand, what are some of those things you see that you would say people to avoid, or things that are just kind of going to be outdated here in the next couple years?
Yeah, I mean, I think trends in general are part of the problem, right? Because anytime that you're capturing a trend, that you're being on trend, like for that year, it's great. And you're like, we're doing what everyone else is doing. That's awesome. But the next year, to your point, it's gone, right? And so now everything looks outdated. Now you're rebranding every single year. Now you don't have a brand anymore because you have to keep trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? So I think that's the biggest thing, is to stay away from the trends and instead really dive deeper and gain an understanding of like, who are you as a brand? Who are you as a business? What are your goals? Who are your users? And taking that information and creating something that is timeless, right? Something that actually is authentically you. Again, going back to authenticity, I think that's really where you're going to see the best results. Like clients are really going to resonate with that and understand that that brand is like your brand, instead of just like chasing a trend. But then also you're not going to have to rebrand every couple of years, because like you see brands like FedEx or something like that, that logo has been around for 70, 80 years, and it's still just as good today as it was back when it was designed, because it was authentically for them in that time in that business. And so they don't have to chase trends. Like they already have something in place. So I would say stay away from trends. And I think a big one right now is like AI design. Everyone's kind of like throwing their brand into ChatGPT, into Gemini, into Firefly, and just like spitting out an AI logo and like slapping that up. And so I think that's something that can cause problems. Obviously, like AI can be drawing from places that can be problematic. But then also I think, again, it's not going to resonate with users in the same way that someone actually sitting down and designing something, understanding your brand is going to create for you something unique and really stands out for your brand. So I think that's something else there.
And inherently, like AI has to pull from something. So like it's only going to be unique. And I think every artist pulls from something, right? But like the actual tangible thing it's pulling from could be something it spit the same exact thing out to someone else across the country, across the world. And maybe they get to market faster than you. And now you're like, oh, someone stole my brand. Well, you can't steal a brand if an AI created the same brand as you. And who do you hold accountable, right? Versus if a designer did that, you'd have someone to at least take to court or something, right? If you paid for an exclusive design. So I think that's really, really something. And then we'll talk about AI, I'm sure, a bunch. It's a big thing. I'm sure a lot of people want to hear about it, and people are getting into it. But going back to what you said about the timelessness, it's like I think about like a brand like Coca-Cola that's like the logo's been the logo since like the 50s probably, and they run the same exact commercials every Christmas. Like they don't even change the commercials, even though the commercials are dated. The like, CGI polar bear or the Santa commercial. It's like they don't even have to do that because that's what people want. And they know that their brand is about the almost like the legacy and the nostalgia and the heartwarming feeling you get about the product is what they're built upon. And that's their version of authenticity that has people around the world like just consuming the product. Even though inherently it's not good for you. It's enjoyable, but it's like doesn't have any true benefits other than short-term enjoyment. And anyone logically with a brand would be like, oh, I shouldn't consume that. But it's like that. Or McDonald's is another brand. The brand is so strong they can serve what is objectively not a good product compared to another restaurant. The food is not as high quality or nutritional or necessarily even taste as good as a burger from a Ruth's Chris, but the brand draws people in, and kids want it, and people want it. For some reason, it draws you into it. So that's like really the powerful of the brand. You can market a poor product beautifully and have success, but it's really, even if you have a genius product, hard to have success if it's bad branded and bad marketed.
It's true, and yeah, to your point, like vice versa. And first off, you've been taking shots at like my client list, so I can't buy into anything you're saying. But yeah, it's like the opposite. Like if you have like a subpar product but really great marketing and really great branding, I'm sure you guys have experienced this where you see something incredible on Instagram and you go out and you buy it and you get it and you're like, oh, this is actually not a great product. So that's like the dark side of branding and marketing, but it goes to show you how effective it can be when done well, to where you're buying things you don't even know what it's going to be or how good it's going to be just based on the branding and marketing. So when you combine a great product with great branding, to your point, like a Coca-Cola or something like that, that's when you get that like long lasting magic that like people love it. It becomes a household name. that's when you start to see that sort of result.
Like Apple, I think, is the perfect marriage of like great product with even better branding and marketing, but it is still a great product to how they've very quickly in like 30 years went from a computer company to like the most used one and desirable. And they built the brand about that club you're in by having Apple products, but the product inherently is great. We stay in it because if you're an Apple person, because you actually love the products just as much as you love the brand. And if the products got worse enough, people would switch, right? But they do a great job at ensuring that their products are innovative and top of the line. So I think it's that. And there's so many places you can go to, these restaurants that the food is amazing. You have an amazing experience, and they're gone in a few months because they don't understand the branding and marketing side. And a restaurant like McDonald's, where like I'm sure all of us have had a horrible McDonald's experience at some point in their life, and it never stops you from eventually going back, right? And
they'll get you.
Reason they'll get you for sure.
Hey, Tom, I got a question for you, man. One of the greatest quotes I ever heard from a business guy was, "You can have marketing without sales, but you can't have sales without marketing." Is that true?
You can have marketing without sales, but you can have sales without marketing. I think that is largely true, sure, because like marketing is really, again, talking about inbound marketing, creating a sustainable system to having a business. I think if you're getting sales without marketing, like I don't know how you're doing it. Like that would be pretty shocking. Like you have to convince people to buy things, right? Inherently, that's kind of how things work. Is you have a product or service that you believe in, and now you need to convince people that it's worth X amount of money, right? And so I think that's where marketing comes into play, and branding as well. And as a longer term play, it's all about showcasing your value, of showcasing that you're part of something that other people want to join, right? Some sort of community, some sort of identity. To your point, Drew, about like Apple, it's bigger than just a brand. Like that's a community of people. Nostalgia. You have the blue text bubbles, right? Like I am Apple, you have green ones, you're Android. Like we're different people. Like, so I think, yeah, absolutely. I think you need marketing to have sales for sure.
And Apple's a great example that if your marketing and branding is good enough, you can build a cult, like literally cult-like following, where people will judge each other based off what brand phone they have. Could you imagine like walking into someone's house and seeing they have like a Vizio TV and being like, oh, we cannot be, I got the ick, right? Like, no, or what brand microwave they have, right? But for some reason with this, it literally can cause that. So it's crazy. And
shout out to Vizio, man. We're taking shots at Vizio.
Sponsor of the show.
Vizio's great, the no shade Vizio, and my TV is even worse than that. But like I've never been shamed for what TV I owned or what microwave I have or whatever. But it's wild. It just goes to show like how powerful marketing is that like in the whatever 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever decades it was, like marketing convinced everyone to like smoke cigarettes, and that it was like cool and to do it when like everyone smoked a cigarette for the first time. No one enjoyed it. You don't do it because you enjoy it. You do it eventually because you get addicted to it. But that first time any one of us as teenagers tried a cigarette, we didn't do that because we knew it was an awesome, great product. It was because the way we've been marketed to our whole life with the cool cowboy smoking the cigarettes or whatever it is. And we saw our parents do it. And it's like, it goes to show us like you can market a product that can literally kill you. And I think there's probably a ton of people right now that believe they can outsmart marketing. But I guarantee you, if we go another 30 years from now, there's going to be things that we're like, I can't believe we did that. Like we consumed that, or we did that thing that was so bad for us. Whether that's, I can't believe we put this radioactive device to our head for years and we thought that was a good idea. We don't know what that will be. But not that long ago, you could smoke cigarettes on airplanes, and you could smoke
on mute too.
The doctors would be smoking cigarettes while you're a pregnant woman smoking a cigarette in a doctor's office, and that was not weird. But you don't know these things until later. But it just goes to show, like I'm sure there's things we're doing right now that we're being marketed to that we think, oh, I'm smarter than these marketers, but no one is really. So yeah, it's a wild exercise to start thinking about that. And what Craig and I do is we are that marketing team, but we have graphic designers on our team. We're not the ones doing it. We're building the strategies and the campaigns because we had to build this out ourselves. But most people are not capable of this, because it could be a couple things. It could be a technical gap from like the technical aspect of being able to build a brand and a marketing strategy. It could be a technical thing where it's like some of these platforms and softwares you can use for could be just outside the scope of what you're good at. And it can also be just like a natural creativity thing where some people are genius with numbers and sales and doing those things, and some people are geniuses with being creative and marketing messaging and communication and the visual stuff. And very rarely can you find someone who can do all of that, right? So a lot of our guys that we work with are that side. They're the analytical number side. They're maybe good at sales, but you get them on a computer and some of them don't even know how to use like Google Sheets, right? And it's just the way it is. And they definitely would never be able to come up with a marketing and advertising campaign to be able to speak to their demographic. So we try to like bridge that gap, because that's what Craig and I kind of both have had that experience of. I've been doing digital advertising. Most of the time I rely on people like you, Tom, to come up with the visual brand components of it. And then I put it into action to make sure it gets out there. But what I truly see is like the one consistent thing, that the brands that are advertising the most are the ones who are winning in the end. And the ones that are trying to save money on marketing and save money on advertising and save money on developing a brand, and they're just focused on other aspects of the business, or it's just a race. Seems like it's just a race to the bottom. Great example we have here that we all see, because we're all in Central Florida right now on this call, just not in the same room, but we're all in Central Florida. There's a lawyer here named John Morgan, and for the last 20 years, we have not been able to outrun him because he is on every bus, everything, every commercial. He sponsors every single thing that happens in Central Florida. And now I go all over the country and I see he's everywhere. I think it's just here, but no, he understands that like he's sponsoring the ring at WrestleMania. He's sponsoring the UFC fights. He's sponsoring NFL events. He's buying Super Bowl commercials, because he knows that if his name is everywhere, that at the end, that's where the business is going to go. That's where the consumers are going to go. And, it takes time and it takes a lot of effort and money. And if you are a real estate investor and you're trying to get deals, you need to be getting in front of these people every single day. And you as a person cold calling, you only have so much time in your day. There's only so many conversations you can have in a day. But an effective advertising strategy, you could be really building that brand, that brand from scratch. And we allow people to actually leverage our brand for their advertising because of that exact reason. They may not be able to create it themselves or have the technical or creative throughput. So our clients actually leverage the brand we've already built to just solve the problem of generating business for them, which is where we kind of stand out. So do you see any other ways of businesses doing that, like building a brand and then leveraging that as like a solution for people?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of where the industry that I'm in, and I'm seeing a lot of other industries doing it as well, as like outsourcing a lot of things, right? Like I feel like the day of the in-house team is like dwindling a little bit. Like I don't think it's going anywhere, but like I think in-house teams are getting smaller. So especially when it comes to marketing and creative and things like that, like I'm working as a freelancer, so I'm being brought in as like a hired gun to all these different companies that need creative, that need marketing, that don't have their own teams, right? Because to your point, everyone has their own skill sets. Like you can't be expected to do everything, because that's when you're going to get into trouble. Is like, I'm one person, I'm going to do absolutely everything for my business. You're not going to be good at X, Y, and Z because you're good at your niche, right? So it's great to be scrappy and small and all that type of stuff. But I think to really scale, that's when you need to bring in other people that are experts at what they do. And so I think that's something that I'm being brought in a lot right now to other companies, is that they just don't have that as part of their team. They've kind of reduced their in-house headcount. And so they need a marketing expert, a branding expert, a design expert. So yeah, I definitely think that's kind of where things are going right now with like uncertain economic times and things like that. Like AI is obviously kind of shaking something. So I think that's kind of what I'm seeing through all of these businesses.
Yeah, I think that it leads into the like franchise model too. Like, why create a sandwich shop, right? And you can create a whole brand around it, or the people who can't, they buy a Subway franchise, right? And then it's like you're leaning onto this brand to build your business instead of trying to build that from scratch. And there's also pitfalls and things that go into that, but it's kind of like that model that's growing and growing. And so this question I love right here. When a customer sees a new brand for the first time, what do you think is the things they judge most in the first 5 seconds?
Wow, that's a great question. So when you say a brand, like in what sense? Because I think this is probably a good thing to call out too. If your user base maybe isn't all like in the design world, like I think when people hear brand, they think a logo a lot of times, right?
But say a logo then, like a logo or a website. I think if your logo's bad, chances are your website isn't good. And if your website is good, then chances are your logo is probably good too, because they really go hand in hand. It's like it's the whole strategy. So like, let's say it's like a brand strategy. It's like one of those elements.
Yeah. So I think obviously visually you're going to be struck in some way, right? Like logos generally are trying to portray something to a user. So hopefully the business has identified their user base. They understand like what they want to see. So like creating user personas for your audience, what their goals are, what sort of like economic budget are they living in. So hopefully you've applied that to your brand, right? So if your logo is premium, if your logo is like something more sporty, if your logo is something very like DIY, like all of those things, just the general look and feel of it is going to portray so many things to people, right? Like when you see a used car ad, like they look kind of crappy on purpose, right? Like there's stuff everywhere. You're getting bombarded with like the coupon, like the little cutout stickers and stuff like that. That's not because they can't hire good graphic designers, right? Like car lots make a lot of money for the most part. It's because they want to communicate a brand and a certain economic level to people. And so when they see that style of design, they're like, okay, these cars are cheap. Like this design doesn't tell me it's premium. It's not diamonds and gold and craziness. It's like impact font and like poorly cut out cars. And so I think that's the first thing is when you see a brand, you kind of judge where it lands in that scale of the vibe of it. And then you start making judgments on if you resonate with that, right? Like if you're shopping for something, does this brand align with where I want to be economically, with where I am like from a social standpoint? Like all sorts of things can be construed in a logo pretty quickly. And a lot of it is kind of subconscious, but again, a good logo, a good brand is going to really be driving home a lot of those concepts right off the bat to where people automatically know if they're in the right place or not.
I know that there's a ton of research and you can look into it when you get into it, because this is just like really surface level, but like different colors just create different emotions for people. And the color, like just the easiest way to boil it down to is like red meaning stop and green meaning go, right? There's a reason they chose those colors, and those colors have been hammered into us. And if green can obviously relate to money or savings. If you go look at a website, if something is like on sale, it's usually going to be in green, something green. The font is green, or the logo has to do with something type of value of being, maybe organic or clean or fresh. You'll see the green. If it's relating to money, it'll be green. If it's relating to, something about stopping a problem, like maybe a extermination company, they'll lean into the color red. And you can go that with every color in the spectrum of like, are you communicating the right message with your colors? And I know that from my side of the business, testing different, just on a website, if you have a button that says like buy now, like add to cart, the color of that button can get wildly different results of whether people do it. And these people don't even know subconsciously, but you're testing it over thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And you'll realize that like, for some reason, if you go look at Amazon, right, whatever's Amazon's doing, just understand that like they figured it out because they've tested it out with millions of people. And there's a reason those things are that colors. There's a reason things are set up the way they're set up. There's a reason why the fonts are the fonts they are. It's not by they just threw it up there and tested. Every single piece of that is really tested. So yeah, different colors, different fonts, everything that go into a brand can communicate completely different things. You can get completely different results. So not understanding who your demographic is, who your customer is, what economy scale they're at, what their problem they're trying to solve, that your brand could potentially be that solution. Missing that little piece can really just start you from you're starting from such a further point than you possibly could be if you actually dove into that or hired a professional to figure that out for you. Yeah, I think that's a great point about like testing stuff, right? Like, I think a lot of
I think if you're starting from a place where you're not working with like an agency design team or something like that, I think that's a really easy way for people to kind of dip their toes into design, right? Like if you're doing it yourself, like try something and test it, check the Google Analytics, whatever, see if it's working. If it's not, change it and document that, and just keep iterating and A/B testing and like figuring out what's going to work and what's not going to work. Because a lot of the times, like when it comes to marketing and things like that, if you don't already have a data set, you have to test a hypothesis, right? Like you do the research to understand things as best as you can, but at some point you have to just test it. And so I think that's a great concept of just kind of doing that and documenting the results and then iterating from there and taking those learnings to just keep making things better over time.
Do you have a few on the top 5, whatever top, like your favorite brands as far as just like from a like your own personal experience, or just ones that you admire? Because I think I've always been learned as like that, like a brand is almost something that some people would be willing to almost like get that tattooed on them, right? You just are brand loyal to that brand for one reason or another. But is there a few that you really look up to and admire?
Yeah, there's a brand, actually, I have a bunch of their stuff on my desk right now called UGG. It's like a very like designery desk productivity company. And so it speaks to me, right? Like I'm a design nerd. I love like physical objects that help me like take notes better or like get my ideas out faster. And so that company like speaks so specifically to me that it feels like I'm like a part of that brand by buying things, right? And so I think they've done such a masterful job of understanding their niche, of understanding their users, of understanding what's going to resonate with those users, that it's like every single video I see of like a designer desk video on Instagram or something, it's all UGG stuff. Like if you're not a designer, you might not know it, but like it's all the same type of stuff just because they really cornered that market and really have designed something that shows they understand their users. So I think that's really important. Yeah, it's like you mentioned Apple, like that's such a cop-out answer, but really like that really speaks to me. Another one is
like
Braun.
they're like the top one. Yeah. Sorry, what was that last one?
Braun, like the like razor like tech company. So the original like creative director of Braun was Dieter Rams, who's like my favorite designer of all time. And that's actually where Apple got pretty much all of their designs from, was taken from Dieter Rams' Braun design. So he had like turntables and clocks and razors and all this stuff, radios. And so like the iPhone, the iPod, like all this stuff is directly taken from Dieter Rams stuff from like the 40s and 50s. So that's another one of those brands that like I just have books and books of all of his product design work that really speaks to me.
And I'm sure it's like everyone watching doesn't even think of their like some of the brands that just resonate to them. And like you said, it kind of goes to your walk of life. Like for me, like I play guitar, so a lot of people are like Fender guitars is a brand that people just be diehard, like obsessed with. And there's like a million guitar companies, but they love Fender. And it could be because of the type of other players that use Fender, or because of their marketing or branding or the timelessness. And then there's some people who are Gibson guitar people. And that's another big brand. Brands that I really love is like, I think Liquid Death is like genius. Liquid Death, their marketing of just like, that's like marketed to product. It's like a good product marketed brilliantly that stands out. They understand who they are. They're self-aware and who their audience is, who their demographic is. And they understand that like grandmas aren't going to buy their product. So they're not trying to focus on creating a brand that's going to sell to everybody. They're creating to sell to one niche that people, which probably is the niche they were in, or the niche that they, wanted to, because they had fun building a brand around that style. And it's almost like, for people who's not aware, it's almost like a metal band branding almost, but also like Cartoon Network, Adult Swim silliness. It's just like, doesn't take itself seriously, while the product is as straightforward as anything else. And then another brand that's same product line that is also marketed brilliantly is like Arizona, like iced tea, like brilliant marketing. Like everyone loves it. Everyone, like, it's a brand because of the brand, right?
It's still 99 cents.
Yeah, exactly. And that helps too. But just the product itself, being so timeless is why they can have the margins to be able to keep those prices, because there's so much brand loyalty. I was reading a thing. It's like, And another level of this is just we're even just sitting in this one this product line is like Red Bull, brilliant brand, right? Whether you love the commercials or not, but the product itself, like it doesn't taste good necessarily on purpose, and it was in a small can so that it almost felt like you were like having medicine, right? It was like so powerful for being something you could get home, and they did that on purpose, even though like obviously everyone thinks the bigger package is better, but the fact it was like in a smaller ounceage and the dosage, and it had like the warning labels, and it kind of had a prescription, almost medical type thing on the original can, is what made it so successful, because that's what it was. It was marketed as like this performance enhancing thing, and now it's just spun off into a brand. Like there's a Red Bull record label, there's a Red Bull sponsoring cars. It's like Red Bull is just this massive brand, not just one single product.
Yeah, I think the liquid death example is perfect, because it's like, I think that has to be one of the best examples of our lifetime, as far as just taking the most commodity item ever, water, bottled water, canned water, and turning it into like a multi-billion-dollar brand that people like buy shirts and have merch and the gear, and like it's just become something completely different. And it's just water, right? Like there's nothing that special about the product. Like it's good, I drink it, but it's more about the brand. And so that really shows you the value of just branding and getting people to buy into what you're doing. And as an extension of that, like marketing too, like the commercials are great. But yeah, they just understood their niche, and they took something simple and they just blew everyone else out of the water through branding and marketing. And so I think that's, yeah, anytime someone's like, branding, it doesn't earn money. It's like Liquid Death like says otherwise. Like crazy case study there.
Greg, what are some of your favorite brands that you personally love?
Nike.
Yep. It's a timeless one. Yep. I'm not a Nike guy. I do respect everything they do. I just personally like, not the biggest fan of the products necessarily. I want to be more of a fan of it, I should say, but I personally just don't like the products as much as others. But Nike is a timeless, awesome brand.
Yeah. But I was thinking, we all of us know that one crazy guy from your childhood that was older dude that lived on the street, but he was just a Coca-Cola fanatic, right? You went in his garage and there was just every little emblem or Coca-Cola made novelty item just plastered all over the wall, everything possible. You could, and it just goes to show you that you could love the brand and not even, be a consumer of the product.
Mm-hmm. There's people collect Nike sneakers, right? And
I'm one of them.
It has nothing to do with actually wearing them, or because they're comfortable, or because they love to play sports. And it's like, it's not even about the actual product. It's about the brand, the fandom, and what the feeling you get from the brand. It's almost like a sports team, like, right? Like you have New York Knicks or LA Lakers stuff all over your house like that. There's people who have Coca-Cola stuff. They love that. I love, and there's also just like brand, you're loyal to brands that you may not even think about. Like I'm an Old Spice for whatever reason. That brand spoke to me one day, and I buy. That's the brand I buy for deodorant. And
they gave you the free sample in middle school, and you never
maybe
changed.
It was that, but it's also an example of a brand that was like originally for like an older male demographic. It was like what our grandfathers and dads used, and then they decided to go the kind of Liquid Death route and get a little bit more absurdist, silly, and focused on the fragrances and stuff. And now they have this whole other brand loyalty where like I don't buy. I'm afraid to even try another deodorant brand because I probably won't like it and it's too expensive at this point. So I just stick with what I like. And, it's been going on probably 20 years. I've just been buying Old Spice, and it's not like I'm going to get an Old Spice tattoo, but that's the brand for me. And everyone has those, I'm sure too, the things they buy just because they buy it, Yep.
It's
I think
important.
Braun's.
Yeah. Branding is like, it's super important. We have a lot of our clients, Drew, they want to rebrand, or they want to start, they come up with, they want to push things through their brand, their funnels, or whatever, just use more of their own stuff, keep it in-house, right? Which is nothing wrong with that, which is great. But, I don't think as many people know how much actually is involved that goes into totally rebranding something or creating a new brand on its own. You're going to have to it just seems like, I don't know, in my opinion, that there's kind of two different things. It's like you have sales and then you have marketing, and they go neck and neck, but one could control the outcome of the other.
100%. Tom, have you ever, do you have any examples that you've seen of companies trying to rebrand or do something big brand wise that have just been complete disasters or failures because they maybe went about it the wrong way or wasn't looking at the right data or something?
Yeah, for sure. I think we see that a lot. I think we just saw that with like Jaguar, right? They just rebranded to like very like Gen Z, like super bright colors and like kind of feminine. And I think a lot of people kind of had a hard time with that because Jaguar has been a very like James Bond type, like old school, old money British.
They don't know the demographic. Yeah, like none of those that never can afford a Jaguar.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's like maybe some of these influencers are getting up there, but yeah, I think most people kind of had a hard time with that, and so I think Jaguar kind of retracted a lot of like the boundaries that they were pushing with that because they got so much negative feedback from that. And so I think anytime you rebrand, it is a bit of a risk, just because you don't know how people react. You can focus group it, you can do your research, but you don't actually know until you actually get it out there. But I think as long as you really are kind of understanding what people want, like again, the Jaguar thing, it just was so out of left field for them that it just felt crazy. And so they're trying to do something crazy. Like sometimes that works, but it seems like maybe they just kind of lost the plot as far as who they were, their ethos, so I think that's really important to understand your brand positioning in the market, like who you actually are, like what do you stand for, like why do people identify with you as a brand. There's been a ton. I remember the Gap years ago. Do you remember that? Like they put like a little square in their logo and people just like went crazy and had to get rid of it. Cracker Barrel just did this where they rebranded, people revolted. So yeah, branding is one of those things, like no one's thought about the Cracker Barrel logo in 50 years. Like everyone just drives past the sign. Who cares? But when they rebrand it, all of a sudden everyone has an opinion. Like there's people with pitchforks and like it's craziness. So it's like
the maple syrup lady.
Strongly.
Remember the maple syrup lady like 4 or 5 years ago?
It was Aunt Jemima, right?
Yeah, they took her out. And they
now it's changed the completely name of the company and
Yeah, there was another something too where people protest and they lose massive, like their stock goes down like 50% overnight, and it's whoa.
I think also we see a lot of these. Sorry, I thought I missed out what you're saying.
No.
There's a lot of these companies that like I've noticed this with like some soda brands where it's like they'll like try to chase a trend. And they like rebrand all their labeling to be like what they determine to be hip and modern and cool. And they do that for a few years. And now if you notice, they're all going back to like their logos from the 70s and 80s, like that nostalgia. They're just going back to what they had before. And now people are like, hell yeah, they're excited about that. But it's like they could have just, if they just never changed, like Coca-Cola doesn't do that, right? They just, maybe the brand, the labeling changes a little bit here or there, but like it's still, the brand is still there. But now all these companies are just going back after trying these crazy extreme things, the thing that worked all to begin with that got them there. And then now people are excited about that. And it's just like a sphere. A new CEO will come in or whatever, and he'll want to do some crazy cool rebrand because he thinks that will make them hip and trendy. And then when it doesn't move the needle, they just end up going back the other direction, or the pendulum swings the other way.
Yeah, you see it all the time where, yeah, you're right. Right now, the big trend is kind of like just going back to your old logo because you went so far down the path and now you've lost who you are, right? And so then there's like, oh, let's just use the one from the 70s where like we had like Paul Rand designed our logo and like we threw it in the trash can or something, like this legendary designer. And so then they just go back to it and it's like, oh yeah, it was always like a sick logo. We just wanted to try something new and chase these trends and put drop shadows and gradients and whatever else on it. And then, yeah, you just end up going back to the true classics. So yeah, it goes back to just understanding your audience, understanding your brand, doing something authentic and not trying to just keep up with the Joneses every year because it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
Here's a question.
Go for it.
Sorry. Tom, we're speaking on brands, but we haven't touched on personal brands. I see a lot of people nowadays own a company, do a bunch of, but then they personal brand themselves for like mentor coaching, whatever, right? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's huge right now, right? I think that's kind of where a lot of things are going. I do that myself. Like, I have a YouTube channel, Artful Ruckus. I also offer coaching through that. So like, I'm establishing my own brand as a bit of like a design influencer, I guess you could say, as much as I hate to use that word, but I think that's really where things are going right now, is like everyone wants to do their own thing, right? Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Everyone wants to have a company. And so to do that, I think people want access to you. They want to know who they're working with, right? Like if you just start up a company and call it like Craig Industries, like who is Craig? Like, why do I care? What's he about? I want to understand you. So to do that, you have to establish a personal brand. So you have to start posting your own content. You have to start telling people who you are, what you're about. And so I think it's great. Like, I think that's definitely where the industry is going for all industries right now, is just understanding who you're working with, having access to them, finding out what makes them tick. And then again, same thing with a real brand as a personal brand. I want to make sure that I'm aligned with you, right? Like as far as the things you like, the brands that you like the products you use, the type of work ethic you have, like all of this meta approach to life and business. I think people want to find those communities of people that they align with. And that's really when you start experiencing like those strong visceral reactions to brands, personal or professional. I think we're seeing a lot of that. And so, yeah, I think it's a great thing. I think it gives people more power, right? Like individuals have more power instead of just having to work for companies. So yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing.
Probably having the consumers at ease, I guess, like they can put a face to the name, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's more personal.
100%. Yeah. You don't want to work with a company. It's just like, you don't know who's running it or like what they're about. Like they could disappear into the night, right? But when I see your face and I align that to the name and I read your mission statement and I see testimonials about who you've worked with and what you've done, now I'm starting to trust you. I'm starting to understand you. So I think those are all elements of establishing that personal brand that's really going to start seeing results instead of like scaring people off, you know?
Yeah.
No doubt.
This will, I'm hoping it will bring some value to some people who may see this. But let's say you're building a brand today and you had to, let's say, call it, you're building I know you don't operate in this world too much, but let's say you were building a real estate, entity, a brand for a real estate entity. And you said that by the end of the year, I want to be dominant. I want to dominate the industry, right? And that was your goal. Whether you can achieve that or not is another question. But what were the things you would focus on first when building that brand, if you wanted to dominate by the end of the year, a new real estate company?
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to get a really good understanding of your user base, right? Like, I think spending more time researching is always good when it comes to marketing, branding, starting a company. Like, really understanding your strategy and like your positioning in the market. So who are you going after? Where do they live? Like, what platforms are they on? How are you going to market to them? And then, yeah, just coming up with a plan, right? Prioritizing what you can do. So write down a list of all the things that you think would work as far as marketing, as far as branding. I'm sure we can all sit here like, I'm going to start a company. I need to do 10,000 things. Like, that's really intimidating, right? So I think writing down like a list of all those things and rating them based on the impact that they could have and then how easy they are to do. I think that'll give you a really good list as far as like, here's how I can prioritize what I need to do to get started with that like new brand that you're starting up. And so then I think just like kind of establishing the base level stuff, right? Like, you need a website, you need like a business line, like all of those base level things. I think that's just kind of like day one stuff. But then, yeah, apart from that, I think it's just kind of understanding your user base, your strategy, and then prioritizing how to execute that on like a day-to-day basis. So not getting bogged down with like really long-term details, like just focusing on what you can do short-term.
Got you. This is going to be the one that everyone probably wants to hear, like where AI and design, and I think we're still just scratching the surface of this, and it could be one of those things where, I have one part of my brain thinks that this whole AI boom could be just the NFTs of this year. And maybe it's just we're too early for it to really take over, and all these companies are going to invest into making their NFTs, and then all of a sudden it's like a few years ago, they're like, well, we got to fire all the people on the team who were working on that project, right? But what are your thoughts? I know you probably have, opinions. You're you're the human version of this. Like, how far do you think we are away from it becoming a real threat to a lot of these creative industries? Because Greg and I mean, like, we run ads. There's people who are saying that like AI is going to be doing that for us and all these things. And so, everyone's kind of like thinking about it. A lot of our guys who are clients, they talk on the phone to people. A lot of people think that there's going to be AI sales reps being able to have full conversations and do sales for them. But yeah, what do you think about all of this, especially relating to design and branding?
Yeah, I think AI is very real. I think it's here to stay. I don't think it's like gonna dissipate like NFTs did. I think it's like a legit business mover, and I think we have to learn to live with it, right? Like, to your point, I'm a creative. I've been doing this my whole life, to where I've never like had to use AI until the past few years. It didn't exist for design, and so using AI is a struggle, right? Like, I think it's uncomfortable for a lot of people to have to like outsource things that you've been doing your entire life to a machine that can do it really fast, but not quite as good as you could probably do it if you spent a lot of time on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's finding ways to utilize it as a tool, right? Not letting it replace you. Like, I think the power that we all have is like what's up here, right? We can, in my case, like creative direct, art direct the AI to create things that look a certain way that someone who is not a designer, an art director, creative director couldn't do that as well as I can do it, right? Yeah. They can hop on the same AI tools that I can use, but because they don't have the knowledge that I have, they can't get the outputs the same way I would get the output. So I think that's one way to look at it, to maybe give people some solace, and that like you still have value as a human. Like, it's not just AI is replacing all of us and we can just like sleep all day or something. Like, I think everyone still has unique skills to bring to the table that's really valuable. So I think it's about finding ways to utilize it that makes your life easier, to where you can offload some of the things that are repetitive that you don't enjoy doing, and using it kind of almost like an employee, right? Like a junior level employee that can just kind of knock things out for you, that can aggregate data, can synthesize things, that can write emails and things like that. But then with a junior employee, you still have to review the work, right? You still have to make edits, make sure everything is aligned to what you want to be getting across, right? So I think that's really important to keep in mind, to not just like put stuff into the AI ether and like accept whatever it spits out, and like now you're sending emails and creating logos without any sort of human interaction. I think that's where that magic is going to happen, is human thought and input with the like workhorse that is AI, to create something that was fast and efficient, but still aligns with like that human element and accomplishing the goals that only we know to be true. So that's my view. It's not going anywhere. We just have to kind of like learn to utilize it and live with it, and find ways to make our lives easier, I think.
I still firmly believe that, like, to some extent, at least in the short term, and I don't know how long this will be true, but I feel like it's still only as strong as the operator. There still like needs to be an operator. And you being someone who's had the life experience doing what you're doing, you still need to objectively say, does this fit my brand? And is this have some subjectivity of the aesthetic of stuff to be able to determine whether it's not. And if you have someone who has no graphic design experience, use AI to go make a logo, they don't understand even what they're looking for and what is good or bad, and have that subjectivity. Is whenever you're hiring someone in some type of creative, what you're hiring them is for their taste, their taste in something. If I hire a great example of this is the legendary producer Rick Rubin, who's produced Jay-Z and Beastie Boys and everyone, Red Hot Chili Peppers. He doesn't know how to play a single instrument. He doesn't know how to write a song. He just understands that he is paid for his taste, of his subjectivity, of what he thinks is good, unique, pushing boundaries, fits a brand, fits a thing. And that's why people come to him. And I feel like even if you're using AI, you still need to have someone who has that subjectivity and taste of what is passable, what is right, and what is there. And that is why it's still going to need high level people like you and people like Craig and I to at least to say, is this working or not, or will this resonate, and is this product actually good to take to market? And I think that's one thing people are missing. They think that they can go use an AI logo and now they don't need to work with a graphic designer, versus I guarantee you a graphic designer using those tools will get the product that you want at a cheaper price potentially than if that graphic designer did it from scratch, but also it will be a way better product than you doing it yourself for free or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head where, yeah, you still need someone that knows what inputs need to be there and then what outputs are actually going to be effective. Because yeah, it's so easy to create outputs with AI. Like anyone can just go sit down ChatGPT right now and just output a business plan and yeah, a logo and a website, like landing page, all that type of stuff. But it might like be terrible, like it might not resonate with your audience. It might not be appropriate for what you're trying to get across with your brand. It might be stolen from somewhere. Like it's pulling on sources that you don't know where it's coming from. And so, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head where you still need people to make sure that it's doing what it should be doing and that the outputs are accurate and aligned with your goals, basically.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, you still, like us as business owners and as a humans, we always want to have someone to hold accountable for something, right? And having it make decisions for your business or put out work or output, you can't hold it accountable for the outcome of your business, right? You have to hold yourself accountable. If you have an employee makes a mistake, you can hold that person accountable, right? If it's making high levels in your business and you're relying on that and you can't hold it accountable, you only can hold yourself accountable for the end of the day of that product. So I think it's that as well. Like if you have a graphic designer who stole work from other people, you can hold them accountable for what they did. But if it was AI, then you're the only one you can hold accountable for and passing that book yourself. And that's going to be hard for people to it's going to be a hard lesson people are going to have to learn when their business is in serious trouble. They have no one to hold accountable for and nothing they can do to kind of remedy it. Because they're relying too much on it. And I think that's a weird thing. Or like we're at the wild, wild west with it still, right? There's no seem to be regulations happening for it. I remember when YouTube first came out, anybody could upload anything to YouTube, regardless of the subject matter, the content. You could upload people dying. You could upload pornography. You could upload copywritten content taken from movies. And it was just like videos and that's all it was. So like eventually it had to get to the point where it's like, no, for this to be the tool we believe it could be, YouTube had to put in safe rails of like what content was allowed on it. It had to put in ways to be able to analyze for copyright and prevent those guardrails because, and if in stages it was, and that's what we're facing right now with AI. And I feel like it's going to be a slippery slope with people relying on it too much, too quickly. And we now have the next generation who's not going to know what it's like before and having to do anything on their own. So we'll see kind of what Pandora box that opens up.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure we've all experienced this, but AI is wrong pretty often and it hallucinates and it tells you things that isn't accurate. So if you don't know what you don't know and you're just like having it do things and you're like, okay, cool, I trust it. It must be right. Like it's searching the entire internet. But yeah, it's like if you know what you're looking for, then all the time it's just telling you things that are blatantly incorrect because it's just pulling from like some blog that didn't fact check or something. So yeah, I think it can be dangerous in the wrong hands for sure.
Yeah. Well, we're reaching the end of our journey here. Craig, was there any last questions you wanted to ask Tom?
No, I mean, hey Tom, where can people find you, bro?
Yeah, so again, freelancing right now, art direction and brand design and things like that. You can find me over at tmunz.com. I also am a content creator at Artful Ruckus on YouTube. So anyone that wants to learn more about design, creativity, anything like that, definitely check that out.
Make sure you guys check them out. And yeah, I think that's pretty much, I think we're wrapping up for today.
Yeah, if you need help with brand development and graphic design, like he said, he's doing freelance work. So please reach out to him and reach out to Tom. And he's now taking freelance work, which is awesome because I've asked him for years for help with stuff, and it's always been, I'm too busy. I'm too busy designing the next logo for X NFL player or whatever it might be. So now it's awesome that you're opening up those services to everyone. So some real true professional A-list brand development, graphic design. If a lot of our guys that are going to see this are going to be all eventually trying to build that personal brand or that the brand for their company to start marketing, because doing those traditional marketing things that we talk about, being the call, the bandit signs, the cold calling or stuff like that will get you going. But if you're going to get that next level, you're going to have to start advertising on digital media platforms. You're going to need logos. You're going to need websites. You're going to need brand colors, brand identity. You're going to need commercials for TV, commercials for social media advertisements, and all of that is pretty worthless unless you have a strong foundation of your brand and your brand identity. You're never going to get congruency. You're never going to have a market that remembers your brand from commercial to commercial, and you're not going to build any type of momentum without it. So definitely hit up tmunz.com if you're looking for any help with that. And as always, thanks for hanging out with us at the closing table, where we usually talk about what it takes to get to the closing table. But I think brand and marketing is a big part of that. Wouldn't you say, Craig?
Yeah, it's a huge part of it. If you don't have a brand, you don't have an identity.
Yep. So appreciate everyone jumping on, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, that will be March 20th. We'll be running this back and running it again. And until next time, we'll see you then. And if you need leads for distress motivated home sellers, just go to leadhouse365.com and we'll hook you up.
Hell yeah.
Thanks again for being here, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
And